Hi, my name is Pastor Hal York, and welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Today we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 22, verses 24 to 25. Do not associate with a man given to anger, or go with a hot-tempered man, or you will learn his ways and find a snare for yourself. We've come across very similar verses like this in Proverbs. We've heard it before, but it bears repeating, and it's repeated quite frequently in Proverbs for a very good reason. Do not associate with a man given to anger. As we look around us today in our world and we listen to the news and podcasts and YouTube, it's not hard to find angry people given to anger. Anger seems to be the emotion that is very much in style these days. I say that because people are proud of their anger. They feel they have a right to be angry. They feel justified in their anger, and they want to recruit people to join them in their anger. And judging by the number of followers and subscribers some of these people have, I think their recruitment is working because hate is growing. In spite of all the cultural excuses and expressions of so-called righteous anger, Proverbs still tells us not to associate with a man given to anger or go with a hot-tempered man. It's amazing how one angry person can walk into a room where people are just having polite, peaceful conversations, and in a matter of minutes, the whole room is filled with angry people. Angry people are angry for a reason. They spew out that venom they have every chance they get, that venom that's in their heart. A person given to anger is a person driven by an agenda, a cause, and he's not content until everyone knows that cause. Usually it's a cause that's gotten off the rails a bit, or it's a cause that's lost balance or has lost perspective. And if you have a different perspective, well, let's put it this way. Let's get ready to rumble. Anger will not take a back seat. It can't. It's like trying to put your hand over a hose to try to stop the water. It doesn't work. It just sprays all over the place. A person given to anger is a person who's characterized by that anger. If they hear a conversation other people are having and it goes against what they think is right, they feel like they have a right to jump in and correct everybody, set them straight. And it seldom resolves peacefully, simply because he doesn't have that setting on his dial. A man given to anger has one setting, angry. It may be simmering anger, growing anger, or boiling over anger, but it's anger. That's his go-to emotion. That's what he's given to, and that's what comes out. That's what's in his heart. And that comes out of our heart, it comes across our tongue. Another such person, very similar to an angry man, is a hot-tempered man. He has a very short fuse. It takes very little to set him off. He's a walking volcano, if you will. He can erupt on a moment's notice with great destruction. But both these people lack self-control. They're driven by their emotions, not principle. Jesus was not a man given to anger. People were drawn to him. They were surrounded by people given to anger, but he saw something different about Jesus. Meek and gentle of heart was how Jesus described himself. People are seldom, if ever, truly drawn to those given to anger, unless you happen to have a common cause and you share your anger and feed off each other's anger. But people were drawn to Jesus, sinners, hurting people. Why? Because he was a friend. He did not agree with their lifestyles. He did not condone or excuse their lifestyles, but he did not come into the world to condemn the world and get mad at the world and hate the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He came to set us free from the penalty of sin and the power and the bondage of sin, to rescue sinners. The reason for the admonition not to associate with such people is this. It's very easy to learn their ways. And maybe you've seen yourself having to deal with increasing anger in your reactions, more so than maybe in times past. Well, maybe it's time to stop and ask yourself, who are you listening to? Who are you hanging around? Are they given to anger? That's not an excuse we can use to justify sinful anger, because we are alone responsible for our choices. But wisdom dictates that we choose our friends wisely, that we guard our hearts. And he ends that verse saying, and find a snare for yourself. How many people have been ensnared, trapped by angry outbursts? How many people are in trouble at work, or trouble in their marriage, or trouble in their home because of anger? They feel trapped. They're stuck because of angry outbursts, or maybe they've lost their job. This is a snare at the end of anger, and it's not pretty, and it can be very devastating. It can even lead to prison We all know stories about people who've gotten angry and done things they shouldn't have done and wound up in jail. And all of a sudden their careers, their families, everything is over. Jesus knew the hearts of men and motives. And there's much we could be angry about. We don't know 1% of what's going on in our world. But that 1% can make us angry all the time if that's all we're thinking about, and if we're not careful. As I said, Jesus knew the hearts of men. He knew the motives of their heart. He knew the evil of the world, every part of this world, every person in the world, every evil deed, and he knew it perfectly. And one day he's going to judge, and vengeance will be levied against those who practice unrighteousness, all those who've rejected Christ and mock Christians. Even knowing all that, Jesus did not walk through this world angry all the time. He came because he loved sinners. For God so loved the world. It was love that motivated Christ to leave heaven and come to earth. If we want to be like Jesus, our lives are going to be marked by, a spiritual-filled life will be marked by love and peace, joy, gentleness, not anger. There is a place for righteous anger. Be angry and do not sin. Jesus was angry when they went and cleansed the temple. They'd taken that which was holy and sacred. They turned his father's house into a den of thieves. But love, not hate. Love, not anger, is what should mark us out in this world as believers in Jesus Christ. They will know you are my disciples if you have love one for another, Jesus said. We are not to be known by what we hate, but for who we love. We love God. We love his Son. We love his people. We love his world, his word. And we are to be marked by love. There is a place for righteous anger. But righteous anger is a whole lot different than unrighteous anger and how it manifests itself. It's controlled. It has a purpose, and it's not that I've been offended or I've been hurt, but that God has been offended and glory has been marred. That's what should make us upset. But we should not be given to that. That should not be our go-to emotion. We should be known as people who love, as peacemakers, as Christ-like people. And so be reminded of this very important principle. Do not associate with a man given to anger, or go with a hot-tempered man, or you will learn his ways and find a snare for yourself. And there is a snare, a very dangerous one, at the end of anger, if it's not controlled. So be careful who you're hanging around. Choose your friends wisely. Guard your heart, for out of it are the issues of life. May this truth guide us and guard us in the trenches of life, which is seek to live our lives for the glory of God and the good of others. May God bless.